welcome into Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff, as we are here live on Tuesday, August 5th. And this week, we have real Miami Dolphins football. First preseason game this Sunday, August 10th, against the Chicago Bears at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a very fun live show scheduled for all y'all today. We will go through the highlights and takeaways and news from this morning's Dolphins practice, which was not available to the public, so some of the news came out a little bit later than usual. We will also take a look at the Bears and Dolphins joint practice that will be going down on Friday, August 8th, and then we'll also preview a little bit of what players I am keeping my eye on in this first Dolphins preseason game on Sunday against Chicago. I'm fired up to be with all the Dolphins fans today, and as we always like to do, shout out your city. Let me know where you're representing from as we get this live show started. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. I'm excited to get into the action this week. Excited to get into the action this upcoming weekend. Alvin, what's up? Christopher, what's up? Tim is in Foxborough. What's up, Zoe? Lucas is saying fins up. Niels is in Germany, if I said that right. King Gaming's in Atlanta. Zoe is in Charlotte. BR is in Ponacana. Matthew B is saying, what's up? I'm from Jersey. Robert's in Stockton, California. My guy John Soto is from Fayetteville, North Carolina, but in Melbourne, Florida. I didn't know there was multiple Fayettevilles. That's news to me. Andrew is in Connecticut. Kay is in the Bahamas. Elvin is in Atlanta. Shout out to all the real ones joining us here early. I can't believe it. Lopez, after a very long off season, we officially can say on this Tuesday live edition of Dolphins Today, it's game week. We got real football this week. Unbelievable.
We are so back.
Now, are you of the belief that football is back? I got to be honest, I don't think football is truly back until the first week of the college football season. Week 0. I'll give you week 0 football's back.
I do agree with that. I'm not the biggest preseason football fan guy. I'm kind of still in that baseball mode right now.
Yeah.
But when week 0 comes around, when they're playing in, Dublin?
Ireland,
I'm locked in.
Yeah, that first game last year was Florida State, Georgia Tech. I absolutely hammered the Seminoles. It didn't go so well for me there. But yeah, until there's a game that actually impacts your record for your season, I do not consider the sport back. I don't consider basketball back in the preseason. I don't consider baseball back in training camp. No, when you get to the real regular season, that's when it's officially back. But hey, I'm excited to watch some of these players finally take the field for the first time in a Dolphins uniform where they're actually allowed to hit another team and another type of players. But all right, here's the next question on the show. Will the Dolphins have a top 10 defense in the NFL this year? Last season, Miami, I would say, certainly had a top half defense in the National Football League. They ranked top 10 in a lot of advanced metrics, third down percentage, but a couple issues they lacked in: sacks per game, sack percentage, turnovers forced per game. So a little bit of an interesting year last season. Certainly a top 16 defense, but are they going to be in the top 10 this year where everything stands? A little bit of a down secondary compared to last year's, but an improved defensive line, linebacker room, and pass rush. So a little bit of a give and take here. Anthony Weaver in his second year as play caller, I think, is going to do a really good job. Let me know your thoughts. Zoe saying yes. Kay saying yes. Ace no. Elvin yes. Christopher yes. Andrew yes. BR yes. Gaming yes. Roderick yes. Tim says top 10 if D-line helps secondary. That's going to have to be how it is. If they can't get pressure on the QB, well, then we're going to have a little bit of an issue. Tristan saying top 5. That would certainly be something. Slushy thinks the D-line got worse from last year. How? Can you answer me how? Like, if you could give me a logical reason, I'll hear you out. But listen to the additions from last year to this year. Chop Robinson year 2. He'll be better than year 1. Jaelan Phillips played 3.5 games last year. He's back. Bradley Chubb didn't play any games last year. He's back. Zach Sealer returns. And you drafted Kenneth Grant. Like, if you really believe that the D-line is worse from last year just because they lost Calais Campbell, you are a little bit out of it. Did I want Calais Campbell back? Did I say they should have brought him back? Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But how can you seriously say that this defensive line isn't better? Slushy says, I didn't know you were including linebackers. Well, they're not. Like, edges are defensive linemen. Like, they're sure, will they drop out in coverage in in a very minimal amount of time? Sure, but they are defensive linemen. If you're lined up on the front against the offensive line, you're a D lineman, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, he's talking defensive tackle. Sure, I just asked defense. I just said defensive line. I didn't say defensive tackles. Your defensive tackles are Sealer and Grant. Yeah, did they get better from last year? I don't know. Remains to be seen on Kenneth Grant. But the entire defensive line, absolutely better. Absolutely better. Well, we mentioned that there is real Dolphins football this week. I want to just make sure the people in this live show are aware, and I'm sure most of you are. We will be live on the channel this Sunday for the first preseason game, live 1 hour prior to the first game of the season, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. 12 p.m. Central Time is when the game is, so we'll be live at noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central Time. Full 1 hour pregame show talking about what we're excited to see and who is playing, who isn't playing. We'll take down some drinks. We'll have a tailgate. It's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait to be live for an actual Dolphins game this upcoming Sunday. This is the thumbnail, so if you see it, click on it and join us on Sunday afternoon. Make sure you are subscribed if you are not already. And I'll ask this question as well, since we are playing the Bears. This is not a who you got on this Sunday because it's preseason. I don't think it really matters. I just want to know, who do you think is the better football team? Are you biased and think it's Miami? Are you unbiased and think it's Miami? Or do you think it's the Chicago Bears? I actually think the two teams are borderline in the same tier of NFL teams. For the Bears, it's very dependent on Caleb Williams' play this season. But if you take the quarterback out of it, I think Chicago's roster is absolutely in the same tier as Miami's. Their offensive line is vastly improved. They added Grady Jarrett on the defensive line. They have a better secondary with Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon. They do not have as good as wide receivers as we do, even though they do have some solid ones. We're better at wide receiver. We're better at running back. They're way better at tight end. So it's a toss-up, but I will say Miami and Chicago, even though they're very similar roster tiers outside of the quarterback, Tua is such a better player at this point of his career than Caleb Williams. Will Caleb be better by the end of his career? Maybe. But if you're taking a quarterback to win one football game right now, there's nobody in the world, I think, taking Caleb Williams over Tua. So if you are comparing the two teams, and if they, over a course of a season and played full strength right now in a neutral site, I think Miami would be favored due to the quarterback advantage, as well as having an experienced head coach compared to a first-year head coach. So I would be typing my MIAs. This is the pinned comment on today's live. It's our poll. 94% of the people are saying the Dolphins. I would agree, but it's very close to me. I think, like, if you were ranking teams in the National Football League, I would put Miami probably anywhere between like 17 and 20. I would put Chicago anywhere between 17 and 20. I think they're right there with Miami. But I do give the Dolphins the slight edge because Tua is a significant better quarterback at their respective stages of their careers. All right, we also are making sure you guys know that Top Fan is still a thing here. We have had a couple fans here over the past couple weeks that I want to give shout-outs to. Last week, it was Jesus Batista. The week before, it was Idonzo G 0520. If you are the top fan from today's live show, we will give you a shout-out on Sunday's live stream against the Chicago Bears to start off the show. And once we finally get our third one, we are going to put it on a little bit of a graphic as well, so you can be a fan, top fan MVP heading into this preseason game. Right now, it's a three-way tie with Tim, Sly, K. You can get your XP up by liking the video, commenting, or super chatting. Super chatting goes the longest way, if you will. But we do need to get those like numbers up. Speaking of getting the like button hit, we want to get today's show started. We got to get the like number up. We got 100 people watching here. We only have 22 likes. That's flat out unacceptable. Let's get to that halfway home mark of the century. 50 likes needs to be the mark we hit. When we get to 50 likes, we'll start today's real show and everything we got planned for y'all. We need 23 more, so hit that thumbs up icon. On today's show, we're going to take a look at Dolphins practice takeaways from this morning, some injury news, some thoughts that I have going into the joint practice on Friday, as well as the preseason game on Sunday. Speaking of that joint practice, I'm going to go through a little bit of a preview, what I am keeping my eye on from Miami's perspective before the two teams face off against each other on practice Friday morning. And then we'll also take a look at a preview of Sunday's preseason game. I have 10 players ranked from number 1 to number 10 that I am keeping my eye on and I am looking for in terms of how they play, how they develop, as they look to potentially earn a 53-man roster spot and see how this roster is ultimately cut down from the 90-man offseason to the 53-man regular season. And we'll get all of this started when we get to 50 likes. We need 13 more. Hit that thumbs up icon. It takes 1 second of your time. Completely free content here at the channel. All those super chats are greatly appreciated and would make you the top fan of today's stream. We need to at least get to 50 likes. We're 13 away. We ain't getting to our first segment until we get there. Come on. 12 away. 12 away. Hit that like button so we can get the show started. The bosses said we can't get it rolling until we get to 50. We're 9 away. Help me out, folks. I want to talk some more Finns football, baby. Come on. 43 likes. We're 7 away. 7 away. Come on. Let's get to that 50 number. Once we get to 50, we'll get the show started. 4 away. 4 away. Who are going to be the 4 people that get us over that mark that is required? I'm waiting for the next update here at YouTube Analytics. 1 away. Who is going to be the 50th? Who is going to be the 50th? Come on. Come on. Who's going to be lucky number 50? That's kind of a bar. Maybe not. Maybe it was. I don't know. 51. We got there. Okay. So, Lopez, what does that mean? Well, it means it's time to get the show party started. So, whenever you're ready, we can start the episode of Dolphins practice takeaways from Tuesday, August 5th. Whenever you're ready. Let's do it. We got some Miami Dolphins practice takeaways on Tuesday, August 5th. We have joint practice coming up later this week with the Bears, and then our first preseason game against the Bears on Sunday. But Miami is continuing to practice in Miami Gardens on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I wanted to go through all the highlights, news, and notes from Tuesday's practice, and we're starting with a massive positive. Look out, folks. I'm telling you what, based off what I've seen in training camp, this Dolphins pass rush has a chance to be absolutely dominant in the 2025 season. You're talking Chop Robinson, Jaelan Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Zach Sealer, Kenneth Grant, and some others. If these players can stay healthy, they have a chance to be one of the more special units in the National Football League, as well as on this Dolphins roster. And we've just continuously seen them play at a very high level in training camp, and I can't wait to see how they do in the preseason. But before we dive into more around what happened at practice today and give some insight, the bosses want more likes on the channel, unfortunately, so I'm trying to just make them happy. Can we get 500 likes on this show? Completely free content, twice a day, videos coming at you. So if you are appreciative and want bosses off my back, which would be greatly appreciated, hit that thumbs up icon. But when you look at what happened at Dolphins practice on Tuesday, August 5th, the O-line got beat up a bit today. There's just no sugarcoating it. And listen, it's going to happen. Yes, I do think Miami's offensive line is improved from a year ago. including James Daniels and Jonas Savionaia over Eichenberg and Robert Jones, is a massive improvement. But without Austin Jackson at right tackle, with him missing time to injury, the O-line has some weaknesses for sure. And the defensive line, which is just a better unit in a vacuum anyway, is naturally going to win more battles than not. But there are a couple players under the radar that had massive performances on Tuesday. It wasn't the standard Jaelan Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson dominating. No, it was actually Mohamed Kamara and Derek McClendon, the second-year edge rusher from Colorado State. Kamara, who's a fringe roster guy. I think he's probably going to make it. I would probably bet a lot of money that he ends up making it as a fourth or fifth guy, but it's not guaranteed by any stretch. He had 3 big flash plays today, a couple in the run game, stopping Jalen Wright in the red zone, as well as getting a sack on Zach Wilson later in practice during 11-on-11 period. So it's nice to see Mohamed Kamara stand out today at Dolphins practice as he continues to stack days and showcase why I was high on him coming out of Colorado State when the Dolphins selected him last year. But Derek McClendon, a linebacker who I don't think really has a shot to make the Dolphins 53-man roster. I would have him as linebacker like 6, 7, 8 at this point. He had 3.5 sacks today. Now, that could further illustrate how much the Dolphins' second line O-line and third line O-line has struggled, which it has been rough. The depth behind those starting 5 is not great, but you can't deny that 3.5 sacks from a linebacker, Derek McClendon, is very impressive. So good to see 2 under-the-radar guys maybe wreak some havoc and speak to the depth on this Miami Dolphins defense. Now, I did mention that the standard guys didn't have the biggest day, but Chop Robinson also had a sack in today's practice. I feels like he has a sack every practice, whether it's in the second line, offensive line, or against the first line. Today's sack from Chop Robinson happened on Zach Wilson. And when this stuff happens in training camp, players get rotated in and out all the time, so it's hard to say if it was exactly against like a Patrick Paul or a Larry Borum or who it was against. But Chop just continues to be one of the more consistent pass rushers on this football team in the early portions of August. And I'll say this, folks. I am just happy that this group is healthy right now, and I am knocking on wood. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I tried, that this group stays healthy all year long. Because if this passes for real, it not only will help minimize your secondary concerns, but it also fixes one of your biggest issues from a year ago. When you look at what the Dolphins defense did in 2024, it was a top half unit in the National Football League. Looking on the left side of your screen, yards per game, points per game, getting their opponents off the field on third down, EPA per play, like they were very, very good. But the 2 numbers that were the most concerning were their sack percentage, sacks per game, pressure rate, and the takeaways they were unable to force, ranking 27th in sacks per game and 27th in takeaways total for the season. Well, that's not great. But with this new improved pass rush, if they stay healthy, we're now talking about a group that could now be a top half pass rush. I think it's a top 10 pass rush in the NFL. And if it's a top 10 pass rush, mixed in with the excellent play calling that Anthony Weaver has at his disposal that he displayed last year, you might be able to masquerade those concerns that we have with the cornerback room. And if it's able to do that, you very well may have a top 10 defense in the National Football League. I am so excited for the front 7. Kenneth Grant and Zach Sealer working in tandem against the run and rushing the passer. Your potential NASCAR package where Chubb, Phillips, Chop, and Sealer are the 4 people on the D line, and you have a little bit of a easier secondary in the back end on third downs. Like Jordan Brooks rushing the passer, Willie Gay, KJ Britt working downhill. It's just awesome, man. I love that I've seen this pass rush play well so far. Hope it continues to this point. And an underrated aspect as well of having such a good pass rush and good front 7 to this point is it actually works in tandem for you. Not only will it help you in the regular season when real games get underway, But your offensive line and Patrick Paul, Daniels, Savinaya, Brewer, Jackson going up against your defensive line on a daily basis right now and in practice during the season will only make them better when you go up against inferior pass rushes and inferior defensive lines to your own. So it will make your offensive line better. Iron sharpens iron, but it also will just be much better for your defense this upcoming year anyway. So this Dolphins pass rush is certainly something that could be special in 2025, and I'm excited to watch. And if they are special, maybe the Dolphins can have a top 10 defense this year, which is the pin comment I want to ask on today's show. Will Miami have a top 10 defense in the NFL this year? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let's segue to the offense a little bit now, more specifically on a UDFA wide receiver, because Theo Weiss Jr. is a player that Miami signed to a relatively decent-sized contract in May/April after the NFL draft, gave him over $200K, and we've labeled him as the best wide receiver that the Miami Dolphins added in undrafted free agency, which they added 4 of them, by the way. They added Theo Weiss Jr., Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas, A.J. Henning from Northwestern, and Monterey Baldwin from Baylor. And I was hyping up Andrew Armstrong all offseason long. But Theo Weiss Jr. has been the best and the one that stood out the most. And he just continues to put together highlights and big days. Today, caught a 33-yard touchdown pass from Quinn Ewers. Like, he just displays good hands, route running, physicality, which is something we saw at Missouri. And he is just continuing to make a push and push and push to make this 53-man roster when it is officially announced in late August. Now, the question that I am going to continue to ask is, do the Dolphins keep 5 or 6 wide receivers? Because if Theo Weiss Jr. makes this team, they probably kept 6. Because you're obviously going to have Waddle, you're going to have Hill, Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook-Keeney. I think D. Eskridge is slowly creeping towards being a roster lock as that 5th wide receiver because he has been the best wide receiver outside of those top 4 I just mentioned. Plus, he brings special teams value, was on the practice squad all last season. He is going to make this team, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think he makes it if he stays healthy. And if they keep 5, well, tough luck, Theo Weiss Jr. Hopefully we keep you on the P squad. But if you keep 6 players on the 53-man, I think Theo Weiss Jr. at this point would be that final wide receiver on the group. And speaking of wide receivers, I just want to quickly highlight Jalen Waddle again. This guy is unbelievable, man. I think he's in for a huge, huge season. He has been Tua's favorite target in 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 drills so far. He has been the most productive. Tyreek Hill has had some nice plays for sure, but the buzz coming out of training camp and practice every day is just so much on Waddle, how dominant he's been, how consistent he's been. I hope that he's able to solve his drop problem from the past couple of years because he's dropped the ball a ton over the last 3 or 4 years since he's entered the league. But I think a huge year is on the horizon for number 17. I can't wait to see him. And I'll tell you what, if you play fantasy football, Jalen Waddle is going like the 6th, 7th round, I think, of fantasy drafts right now. That could be a steal. Take the flyer. I'm not an expert, but just based off what reading the tea leaves, I think he's going to be the most featured wide receiver in this offense. And make sure you do subscribe to the channel as well because we have practice news, highlights, takeaways, and more breakdowns on this football team every single day. Join the channel. We're 68 subscribers away from 71,500. Can we get there today? I think we can. Subscribe. Another wide receiver. It's just a wide receiver show today because the offensive line struggled, defensive line succeeded. There was some nice stuff in the secondary for Miami. Malik Washington caught a 52-yard touchdown pass from Tua Tagovailoa. Beat Kendall Sheffield, I believe was the report. Now, also in today's practice, Sheffield got beat by Tyreek Hill. Tua underthrew Hill, who was open down the field. Sheffield was able to catch up and get his hand on the ball, forcing an incompletion. But nice to see Malik Washington having a 52-yard touchdown today. He will be an interesting player to watch as well. Does he get the most slot snaps? Is he wide receiver 4? Is he your lead special teams guy? Certainly a gadget player Miami will use. Keeping it on offense, though, I want to take a look at the tight end room because Darren Waller is still on the PUP list at this point. And with Jalen Conyers going on injured reserve, his rookie season is over. UDFA signed from Texas Tech. That's why the Dolphins signed Chris Myrick yesterday. We broke that down in a video. You need to be subscribed so you don't miss that. But based off what I've been reading, it sounds like Pharaoh Brown and Tanner Conner have been the best 2 tight ends for the Dolphins. We've seen Julian Hill be up and down, as he always is, dropping some balls. And sure, Julian Hill might have a smidge of value due to his ability to block and the understanding of this Dolphins offense. But if you're just seeing what Miami has right now, your top tight ends are Pharaoh Brown and Tanner Conner, with Julian Hill being number 3. We'll see if Darren Waller returns to get some reps in training camp and in the preseason, and he's ready to roll soon because I want to see what he can bring to the table. But the tight end room is not a good one for sure. But if I had to be a little bit positive and I guess label who the starters are, I think Pharaoh Brown's your number 1 inline tight end, and then Tanner Conner might be your specialty, like pass-catching tight end with Darren Waller still on the PUP list. Let's segue and round out the show with some injury updates now. We'll look at the attendance at practice today as well as talk about Jaelan Phillips. There were 6 players that missed practice on Tuesday afternoon. Andrew Meyer, the backup center. Alec Ingold remains in concussion protocol. Austin Jackson is still out with that lower body injury, but we know that's going to be a couple weeks. Ashton Davis obviously had that injury. We don't know the severity of it, but we know he's out for an extended period of time. But 2 young corners / safeties, Dante Trader Jr., who has missed basically all of training camp with an injuries to this point. And then Cam Smith missed his 4th straight practice. Like, I'm so sick of Cam Smith. I put out a video in a segment about Cam Smith yesterday, so we're not going to rehash it. I put out a short this morning on Cam Smith as well, so my thoughts are very much out in the open about what I would do with Cam Smith. Cut his ass. But Trader Jr. is starting to become a little bit of a concern for me because, man, you drafted in the 5th round, and with Ashton Davis being banged up, Elijah Campbell's a little bit banged up, this safety room is pretty thin, and these are valuable reps and opportunities that Trader Jr. could have sunk in here and potentially become a starting safety or the 3rd safety on this team. He's not able to do that because he is not at practice. Who is back at practice? Edge rusher Jaelan Phillips, who got hurt on Saturday, missed Sunday's practice. Miami was off on Monday, but then returned on Tuesday, which is a great sign. We'll rehash everything on Phillips. But make sure you grab this Dolphins shirt. Represent the football squad that you love on and off the field. It is $15 off. Chatsports.com/MIA shirt sale. That link's in the description. High up in the description, by the way, so you don't have to scroll far. And comments of today's video. Sizes small through 2X in stock, XXX, no good. But grab yours today. One more time, chatsports.com/MIA shirt sale. So Phillips left Saturday's injury with a lower body injury, which is obviously a major concern because he, over the last 2 seasons, have had in 2 separate years a torn ACL and a torn Achilles. So when you ever hear lower body injury in Phillips, you get a little bit of nervous. Well, Phillips tweeted out on Saturday that he's fine, just a bruise. He just got leg whipped. But obviously, Miami fans are going to be concerned. It's good that Phillips provided clarity on how he is not actually severely injured. And speaking to reporters today, he actually talked about his injury. He said he appreciates the concern from all the supporters and stuff, but yeah, just had to let everybody know. I had people blowing up my phone. Is like, everything okay? So maybe next time, let's just, hey, Jaelan is down for a second. It's all right, though, referring to the reporters saying that he is down with a lower body injury. But Phillips said he feels great. Obviously, back practicing. Those contusions hurt like a mug now. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, nothing long-term. I'm back. I'm great. And that's just great news for Miami because the Dolphins need him in a massive way. And personally, he needs to have a big year as well because he is entering the final year of his contract. This is the 5th-year player option, or I guess team option, on his rookie contract. So he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. If he gets hurt again and misses time, that would be 3 straight years of being hurt, and I don't care how positive and promising the first 2 years of his career were and how good he was in 2023 before the injury. If he can't prove that he can stay on the football field, he's not going to get a big payday, and he's probably going to have to take a 1-year prove-it deal, and I know he doesn't want that, and I know he's a talented player enough to be a top 2 pass rusher on a football team. Hopefully he stays with Miami. Hopefully he plays 17 games this year, has an excellent season, at least 8.5, 10 sacks, like he was on track to do in 2023 and gets a nice little paycheck from Miami. Draft, develop, extend. It's the mantra that Miami needs to play with. Hopefully Phillips is able to get that extend part of it. One more injury note that we have to do. This is a massive show, loaded episode. That's why you subscribe. Ace special teams player and safety Elijah Campbell was in a red non-contact jersey at today's practice. No one really knew why. I don't remember reading or seeing anyone talk about how Campbell got hurt on a previous practice, so I don't know if there's anything new there, but obviously not great. And I'll go back to the safety room a little bit too. Like, these three are injured and at least banged up to some degree, which the Dolphins coming into training camp had an interesting battle at the safety position because you had Minka, you had Davis, Melifonwu, Campbell, Trader Jr., and Patrick McMorris. Well, with these three guys banged up, now you really only have three of those six guys healthy, ready to compete. So good thing Iafatu Melifonwu is back. We broke down that news on a video over the last couple of days where he was finally activated off the non-football injury list. So he's out there practicing for Miami. But I'll say this as well on the flip side, with those three banged up and hurt, big opportunities for second-year, sixth-round pick Patrick McMorris, who I had on the outside looking in of the roster bubble coming into training camp. Maybe he's firmly on the in now with some of these injuries. And then UDFA out of Ole Miss, who I was pretty high on when the Dolphins signed him back in May, John Saunders Jr. He's getting opportunities. He's made a couple plays as well in the first 2 weeks of Dolphins training camp. So those young guys getting opportunities for sure. Good thing Melifonwu's back, but I don't love how many injuries Miami is dealing with in the secondary this early in the training camp preseason portion. All right, that'll do it for this long edition of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. If you somehow want more, I have it over on my social media. At Nic_Rohloff is the handle. We got practice clips, takeaways, news, rumors, highlights, everything in between. So if you want to be the most informed Dolphins fan on the planet, make sure you subscribe and make sure you go follow me right down there. Woo! Long one. I had to be like 16, 17 minutes.
Thought you were going to get gassed at the end of that one.
I was a little bit gassed. Sometimes I get to and Savage, I don't even think there was a lot of graphics in that show, too. It was a decent amount, I can't lie. Decent amount, but long video. Listen, I like making my videos long for y'all. What do y'all feel about that? I mean, they're not all of them are going to be 15 minutes plus, but I like when they're that long. Personally. I just feel like I want to give you my full undivided attention, my full energy, my full planned out thoughts. And I don't think I can do that if I'm being short, precise to get 12, 10-minute videos. I like the 15-minute, the 16, 17-minute videos.
I'll say for me personally, I don't mind the long videos as long as they're engaging. If it's just like, oh, this guy's trying to get to 15 minutes, get to 20 minutes just because.
Yeah, like if you're rehashing the same thought over and over again, that could be an issue, which will happen sometimes during breaking news when you need to fill the time and get to a certain metric. But I feel like we kept it moving relatively solid there. We covered O-line, D-line, covered wide receivers, tight end, injuries. Like, that was a loaded one, man. It was a loaded one. Is that the real Teron Armstead? That would certainly be something. Oh, my God, it might be. I think it is. It might be. I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I just clicked on the link. I think it is. Wait, that's electric. Well, I just clicked on the YouTube channel, and it says in the description, after 12 seasons in the NFL, I'm building something bigger than football. And then it has a bunch of new videos drop weekly from locker room talk to boardroom vision. I'm here to inspire, teach, keep it real. I guess he's located in Dallas, Texas, which I didn't know. That's also where we're located. It says press inquiries, and it has like an agency. His Instagram and Twitter handle are in his bio of that description. I think Teron Armstead just peeped in the live show. What's up, Beast? What's up, legend? That's sick. I don't know if he's still watching, but that's chill. So, I mean, y'all see it, man. Dolphins fans, Legendary left tackle in the building saying fins up.
T-Stead is here for Dolphins Today.
I'll-
He's a Dolphins Today
I'm here
viewer.
for it, man.
He's
I'm
Dolphins
here.
Today viewer.
Listen, no one sung the praises more of Teron Armstead last year than me. Missed a lot of time, but battled injuries. He spoke about that when he retired. I mean, I don't even know how he played. I think we made a video about it too, actually, and reacting to him saying that like he could barely walk throughout the week and then somehow would still suit up. He's a warrior, one of the best offensive linemen of the last decade for sure, and definitely a big-time trade that I think Miami got the most out of there when they acquired him at left tackle. So shout out to T-Stead, man. Legendary player for the Fins. And, hey, tuned into Dolphins Today. How about that? How about that? All right. As we continue to progress here in this live show here at Dolphins Today, we still have a tie at the YouTube top fans of today's stream, Tim, Sly, and Gary at 75 XP. I'll say this, if anybody super chats, they would then take the top fan. That's usually how it works. But shout out to all of y'all, man, for tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing. If you want to become the top fan, got to continue to do that. But super chat would put you in that first place number as well. And with that being said, I think we should get into the next segment on today's show, which is a little bit of a joint practice preview between the Bears and Dolphins. I'm going to take a look at the 5 things that I'm looking for the most in this joint practice on Friday morning, based off where the Bears roster is, where the Dolphins roster is, because it will provide some clarity potentially in the Dolphins secondary. How serious is this O-line? And it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. I'll take a sip there. And let's get into this next video here at the channel. Yep. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff, and we have a joint practice preview on this edition of the channel. We're looking at what I'm looking at between this Dolphins and Bears joint practice. Now, they will go head-to-head on August 8th. That is Friday, August 8th at 10:30 Central Time. And when that practice comes to a conclusion, we will have a video out on the channel recapping everything that went down. So make sure you do subscribe for that. But also follow us over on Instagram. And by the way, we finally got there. We got to the 1,000 mark. I appreciate everybody who has followed us over on Instagram. We have more Dolphins highlights and content to come. So follow, and when we have a little bit of a dead time over the next couple weeks following the preseason, we will do an Instagram-led mailbag for getting to 1,000 followers. So appreciate everyone who's given us a follow. Please follow us already if you haven't. All right, the number one thing that I'm looking at in this Dolphins-Bears joint practice is, will the pass rush of Miami and defensive line still dominate the way that it has so far in the Dolphins training camp? Because they have played extremely well. And this is not an indictment on the offensive line. Austin Jackson has missed some time. James Daniels wasn't 100% as we got rolling in the late July. But you also are talking about a defensive line that I think could be one of the best in the entire NFL, with Kenneth Grant, Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Jordan Phillips, Chop Robinson, Jaelan Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. Well, I think this is going to be a good, solid litmus test for Miami early on with how solid I think the Bears' offensive line is. They invested into this front five in a massive way early in this offseason. They traded for Joe Thuney from the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the best left guards in the last 5 years. They traded with the Rams to get Jonah Jackson to play right guard. They drafted Darnell Wright a couple of years ago. He's continuing to improve at right tackle. They made a major signing at center in free agency, stealing one of the best in the game, Drew Dolman, from the Atlanta Falcons. And they drafted Izzy Trapilo, the massive left tackle, in the second round to be their new blindside protector for Caleb Williams, replacing Braxton Jones. This is a very good, improved offensive line. And when you actually look at offensive lines compared to 24 to now, I would make the argument that the Chicago Bears O-line has the biggest improvement from last year to this year. That was an issue for them last season. You could also blame Caleb Williams a little bit for holding on to the football. But if the Dolphins pass rush in this joint practice during one-on-one portions, during 11-on-11s, and the pass rush dominates and gets the better of the Bears O-line, that would show me something. It's one thing to continuously dominate the Dolphins' offensive line, which, even though I think is better, is not solidified, and it's not one that I think people feel the most confident in from an outside perspective because we just haven't seen it. It's not established. But if the defense dominates the Bears O-line with a bunch of established players on it and veterans, that will show me that this pass rush is as good as I think it will be and can be. So that is the number one thing that I'm looking for. On the flip side of the trenches, the number two thing I'm looking for is how does our O-line hold up? Obviously, it's been very hit or miss with our offensive line against defensive line in one-on-one situations and drills. Patrick Paul has dominated. We've seen Jonah Savianaya put together really good reps as well. But when we've gotten to 5-on-5 and full pads and 11-on-11s, it's been a very up and down tenure for Miami. Now, obviously, Austin Jackson is not going to be available due to his lower body injury, but this pass rush for the Chicago Bears in their defensive line is pretty solid. Is it as good as Miami's? No, I would certainly have the Dolphins front five way higher than the Bears front five they can throw together, but it's not a bad front grouping whatsoever. They grabbed Grady Jarrett, another player they stole from the Falcons in free agency. Montez Sweat had a little bit of a down year last season, but was one of the best edge rushers the year prior. They drafted Shamar Turner in the second round. Former second-round pick Javon Dexter Sr. has done some nice thing. And Dio is actually a pretty underrated edge rusher as well. So it's a good defensive line. I think it's an average to slightly above average group in the National Football League, and it's a good early test for this offensive line. It's the perfect one. It's not one that is too unbelievably good like the Philadelphia Eagles to where it could actually be a negative in terms of not being able to get good reps and not build some confidence. It's just right in the middle. You'll have some good plays. You'll have some bad plays. Now, it's unfortunate we won't have Austin Jackson with us for this joint practice because I would have liked to see your projected starting lineup of Paul, Jonah, Aaron, James, and Austin play together against a different NFL defensive line. But I'm excited to see how this O-line holds up against the Chicago Bears. And what is your confidence level? It's the pinned comment on today's show. In this O-line this upcoming year, it's certainly much better than the years in the past season because last year was pretty rough. But scale it for me down in the comments, 1 through 10. The third thing that I'm looking for is an individual matchup. It's second-year UDFA Storm Duck going up against the pass catchers in Chicago, more specifically DJ Moore. Because I think throughout training camp so far, Storm Duck has been the CB1 for this squad. He has consistently gone toe-to-toe with Tyreek Hill in one-on-one drills and when the Dolphins go to 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. If he goes out there and performs well against DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, in team practices as well as the individual one-on-one, well, that will show me a lot because he did some nice things late last season when he replaced Cam Smith in the secondary and started opposite of Jalen Ramsey with Kendall Fuller being hurt. But we were also playing teams that weren't very good. Like, we were playing the Jets. We were playing the Browns, the 49ers in the final 3 weeks of the year. 3 teams that were picking inside the top half of the NFL draft. So not playoff teams. So you can't really point to what he did last year as a true indictment on how he is as a player. Plus, he was a first-year UDFA. He has more confidence now. He's understood what it takes to be a professional in the National Football League. And if we're looking at the Dolphins cornerback situation right now, I'm obviously not in the building, but I would probably assume that if you had to roll 2 boundary corners out there right now, it would likely be Storm Duck and Jack Jones. I think Mike Hilton would be your nickel corner and be that Cater Cobra replacement. But if you're talking boundary outside guys, I think it would be Duck, Jones, Hilton on the inside, and then you obviously have Minka and Iafatu Melifonwu back deep playing safety. So I can't wait to see how the secondary, specifically Storm Duck, holds up because the Bears do have elite weapons. Like, are they as good as the Dolphins as a whole? No, probably not because I would rather have what we have, including the tight end position. But Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift, then the tight end duo of Cole Kmet and first-round pick Colston Loveland. Like, that's a really good 6 players there. Like I mentioned, I'd rather have Miami's top 6 of Tyreek, Jalen, Nick Westbrook-Keeney, Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and I guess the one tight end, Darren Waller. But as a whole, I think Miami is better, but it's going to be a good litmus test for the secondary against the Bears' offensive weapons. The fourth thing that I'm excited to watch is Jalen Waddle still the top wide receiver target. He has been the guy that Tua has targeted the most in team activities so far through training camp. And I think he's been your top wide receiver. And I will consistently say this. If I had to project which wide receiver had the better statistical season, right now I would probably say I would have Waddle over Tyreek Hill. I think Mike McDaniel is going to start to feature Waddle more as that wide receiver 1, especially since Tyreek Hill is not going to be on the team next year. We all know the situation with his cap number and how it's unlikely for him to be here. So Waddle's going to be the wide receiver 1 in the future. I think they're starting to act as he is that now. And they need to dominate, to be honest. And if they do not dominate against the Bears secondary, I'll be a little bit concerned. Like, the Bears secondary is very, very good. But their best player, Jalen Johnson, is out for a couple weeks. So he will not be there for Chicago. So the corners they're rolling out are a very good nickel corner, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, and then a couple young guys in depth pieces. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle should be able to dominate on the outside. And if they don't, I'll certainly think a little bit differently about this Dolphins air attack. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier in this episode, I will have a joint practice recap on Friday afternoon. Practice is at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, so probably wrap up, I would guess, around noon, 12:30, an hour and a half, 2-hour practice potentially. And then once that's over, I'll collect my thoughts and provide them for you. So make sure you subscribe. Do not miss that video. It's going to be a very fun one. All right, number 5. How clean is the operation? This is the last one that I want to bring up. And what does that phrase mean exactly? Well, it's early August, and there's still 3 preseason games to be played. But how are we pre-snap, right? The Dolphins have one of the most complicated pre-snap, I guess, schemes in the National Football League. With all of the motions, the cheat motion, multiple players. Like, it's just so complicated to where it could take some time for everybody to be on the same page and everybody to be set. So can we limit the pre-snap penalties, no false starts, no illegal motions, and have that? Like, do I expect a lot of penalties to potentially be occurring? I do, because it is early August. But that's why I'm also taking a look at it. How messy is it? Is it really messy? If it's pretty clean, well, then I feel pretty good about where we are in early August from a procedural standpoint. Just these little things that I'll be looking for. And especially with Tua taking more of a vocal leadership position this year, or at least that's what it feels like on the outside looking in, well, they should be probably more set offensively at this point in the offseason. And that's where we'll round out the show as well. The Dolphins have the better quarterback between these two teams. Will it be that way in 4 years from now? That remains to be seen. But right now, this season, week 1 in August, the Dolphins have the better quarterback. I want that to show. I want it to be clear that Caleb Williams is not in the same tier as Tua Tagovailoa when it comes to starting caliber quarterbacks in the National Football League. They are not in the same tier. And Caleb Williams is still in that young QB range in the early to mid-20s. Tua, to me, is in that solid starting quarterback range that is top half in the NFL, ranging anywhere between 10-11 to 15-16. So I hope that shows this upcoming Friday morning's joint practice. And before we get out of here on this show, I do want to know your thoughts. Who is the better football team? Try to be unbiased. If you can, that would be absolutely great. Type MIA for the Dolphins. Type CHI for the Bears. I think the two teams are very, very similar, but I give Miami the slight edge just because they have the better quarterback. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. All right, video done. Confidence level in the O-line, folks. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Can't believe Teron Armstead really commented on the live show. That's pretty chill. It's definitely him, though, too. I'll send you the link. I mean, just based off, you look at the picture, the videos that is already on his channel, he's still building it up, obviously. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the next one. I mean, right? Yeah. You never know. Like, somebody may just screen record him and try to fake. Like, I always just get so concerned with that because, like, you could screen record the entire YouTube video if you wanted to and then just post it as your own and act like you are Teron Armstead. So that's why I never take that anything serious. But once you read his description of the channel, I mean, it's clearly him. Shout out T-Stead, man. Hopefully he has as good of a career in sports media as he had one on the football field. That'd be sick, though. Could you imagine? Well, he's still my job. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that would go well. I'd actually, Teron, good luck, but hopefully Chat Sports doesn't hire you because I might be out of a job. I mean, that's probably a big win for Chat Sports. Chat Sports would sign up for Teron Armstead over Nic Rohloff hosting Dolphins Today without question. W for Chat Sports, L for Nic Rohloff. Jimbo says, we'll still watch you, Rolly. You know what? I appreciate that, but would you watch me if I get stuck doing another channel? I was going to say, what if they reassign me and force me to be the host of, like, the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports? That wouldn't be very fun. I don't think you'd watch me then. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Always fun. Always fun. We got over 1,000 followers on Instagram now. Dolphins Today IG. We just crossed 1,000 on Facebook earlier today, too. Everything up. Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Football this week. K-Todd says he'd still watch if it's not the Bills. I would not work at the company. Listen, in the weird way of life, if I was forced off of hosting this channel, which would never happen, at least I don't think. Forced, that is. I would be fine having to just do it professionally, cover another football team, unless it was the Buffalo Bills. I could not do this on a daily basis for the Bills or really the Jets either. I couldn't do it. Those two, no chance. Miami Dolphins training camp winners and losers featured Nic Rohloff and Teron Armstead. I like it, Slushy Sauce. I like it, Slushy Sauce. I would be outlined in red on the thumbnail as a loser. Teron Armstead would be outlined in green for a winner. Yeah, big winner, Teron Armstead. Nobody super chat today. Wonder if that changes. Someone could send in a $1 super chat, and I think they would become the top fan of today's live show. Those are the top. Oh, we got a 14-way tie. So it feels like they're not really adding any XP for the comments at this point. It feels like you get 75 XP for liking and commenting, and then the rest of the XP you get is just from super chats.
It's kind of an L.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Kind of an L. Especially when super chats is like so heavily weighted.
Yeah.
Like, who was that one dude that got like 2,000?
Yeah, he sent in a $50 super chat. It was like 2,000 or 20,000 XP.
Yeah, like no one's gonna pass that up
unless someone sends another $50
yeah.
super chat. Yeah. What do I think about Terry visiting the Dolphins? I assume you're talking about Teron Armstead. Because I don't know who else is visiting the Dolphins. Terry. I didn't see another Terry. I assume that's Teron. He didn't visit. I assume he's talking about Teron. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, he was obviously in the locker room last season. And you see former players always return to training camp. Dan Marino's been at camp a couple times, talking to Mike McDaniel and some of these other players on the Dolphins offense, which is nice to see. So Yeah, I always like when former players return to training camp and um, maybe give some advice, coach up, teach. I love it. Love it. Never going to complain. Never going to complain. All right. Let's get into the final segment on today's live show. We're going to do a little bit of a Bears Dolphins preseason preview. I'm going to take a look at the 10 players that I am keeping my eye on when it comes to the preseason matchup between Miami and Chicago on Sunday. So we're going to get that rolling. Zoe Owens, yes, I have. I believe Alexander Madison might be RB2 if the season started today. Now, I still think that means that I think that still means that Jalen Wright will still have a role, but I think Madison might just have a larger role. It's possible. We'll see. Hard to know what is really going on through the head of the coaching staff until we get to week 1 against the Colts on Sunday. I think it's September 7th or 8th. I think it may be the 9th, actually. I was having this discussion. It's the 7th. It is the 7th. Because game early this year, first game is the 4th, I believe. Yeah, and it's 7th. I think the season is 1 week earlier this year. Yeah. I mean, I remember. Yeah, I just said I wasn't last year. I think last year was like the 12th or a 10th. It was like, yeah, because the 11th was like that Monday night game. Yeah, so it's a little bit earlier. Like 4 days on the calendar earlier. It's just the way that Labor Day fell because they always do it the first weekend of September. So I don't know. Oh, we did get a super chat, which means we now have a new top fan. Shout out to Jimbo. We'll get that on screen, and then we'll get to the segment here. Shout out to my guy, Jimbo. Here we are, baby. Keep it rolly. Go Fins. Go Fins indeed, Jimbo. That is 100 XP. So we went from 75 to 175. So appreciate you, Jimbo. You're the top fan on today's show. I'll answer this question while Lopez gets the segment's first graphic set up. From Sawyer Soy Sauce, do you think there's a chance the Patriots place higher in the Dolphins in the division this year? Cover your ears, but I do think there is a case that happens. I have said this a couple times that I think the Patriots are going to be one of the most improved teams this year. They added, obviously, Will Campbell in the draft. They added Milton Williams, the best interior defensive lineman for ANC. They added Stephon Diggs. They finally got a wide receiver 1. They got Christian Barmore back, who is a all-pro level defensive lineman. He didn't miss all of last season with blood clots. They signed Carlton Davis in free agency at corner. They got a massive upgrade in head coach with Mike Vrabel. Drake May is a really solid young quarterback that I think is going to develop nicely, unfortunately, for us. So it's like, unfortunately, I do think that they have a chance to be in that same tier as Miami. I put Miami in a tier where the Dolphins, I think, are going to win anywhere between 7 to 10 games. Maybe if things break the right way, Miami can scratch 11 wins. I think the Patriots are in that same tier. I think New England is going to win anywhere between 7 and 10. So I think Miami and New England are in the same tier of teams, I'll be honest. And I think that the final game of the season, Week 18, Miami goes to New England to play the Patriots. I wouldn't be shocked, and I would probably be saying it's more likely than not that the two teams are either tied in record or one game within each other, and that Week 18 game between Miami and New England could actually ultimately mean who is higher in the division standings, potentially even the playoffs as well. That game could decide the playoffs. If you told me the Patriots and Dolphins We're both 9-7 going into Week 18. The winner goes 10-7 and makes the playoffs. The loser goes 9-8 and misses the playoffs. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. Wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. All right, but that's enough talk of the New England Patriots. I hope his house isn't getting broken into. I hope it's not. Serious. That would be terrible. That would be terrible. So please, I hope that doesn't happen. But Lopez will have his eye on the chat for a potential update. We'll get rolling here with the next segment on today's show. Coming up, 10 players to watch in the Dolphins' first preseason game. Yep. The Miami Dolphins play game 1 of 3 in the NFL preseason tomorrow against the Chicago Bears in the Windy City. And on today's show, I'm going to go over a little preview, if you will, of my top 10 players ranked 1 through 10 that I am watching with excitement, with intrigue in this preseason game. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. But make sure you subscribe to the channel and join us on Sunday tomorrow, because I will be live on the channel doing play-by-play commentary and analysis of this first preseason game. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be live 1 hour before the game, so noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central time. This is our thumbnail, so if you see it on your YouTube feed, it means we're live, so hit it, join. It's going to be a lot of fun. The number one player that I am watching this game against the Bears, I think it's hard for anyone not to put the rookie 7th-round quarterback Quinn Ewers out of Texas, because he has put together a very good training camp to this portion of the preseason. He has flashed arm talent, and I've consistently said if he's able to clean up his mechanics, his footwork, which were the two biggest issues he had at Texas, along with injuries, the inaccuracy was a major issue. But if he could become more decisive as well and more crisp in his thought process, reading the field, pre-snap reads as well, his talent level is among one of a early first-round draft pick. Like, after his first year starting at Texas, you probably would have told people, yeah, when he goes to the NFL in 2 years, he's going to be a first-round pick. And I don't think anyone would have batted an eye at that. But after a down final season, he gets drafted in the 7th round, puts together a really nice training camp. I'm excited to see what he can do against the Bears in this preseason game. I expect him to play a ton, whether it's the entire second half, maybe a little bit more, who knows. But we'll get to see a lot of Quinn tomorrow, and I'm excited to. Jack Jones is my number 2 player, the corner that Miami signed 1 week into training camp following the injuries to Artie Burns, B.J. Adams, Kader Kohu. But he's a player that right now I would project as a starting corner on this football team. Now, this group isn't very good, so it's not that hard to be a starter. Right now, mine would be Storm Duck, Jack Jones, and Mike Hilton as your top 3 guys. And if Jack Jones is able to put together a strong preseason, I think he is your starting cornerback. I'm unsure of how many snaps he would play, if he plays at all, to be honest. And I'm curious to see what the snap distribution would be amongst these corners and veteran secondary members compared to the young guys and depth pieces. But I imagine Jack Jones will get some playing time, and I'm excited to see what he can show, because if he shows a lot of positive things and good things, he'll just continue to build momentum to being a starter week 1 against the Colts. Staying in the secondary, I'm going to go to the second-year 6th-round pick out of Cal, Patrick McMorris, the safety, because this is a massive opportunity for Patrick McMorris. Ashton Davis is hurt. He's going to miss time, not the whole season, but he will miss time. Dante Trader Jr., the 5th-round pick out of Maryland in this year's draft, is hurt and not playing. Can Patrick McMorris step up and cement himself as a safety on this 53-man roster? He certainly has the opportunity to do so. Coming into training camp, I had him on the outside looking in of the roster bubble with players like Trader Jr., Elijah Campbell, Fitzpatrick, Melifonwu, Davis ahead of him. But as I mentioned, with a couple injuries and Campbell being banged up as well, McMorris has the opportunity to play a very large amount of snaps in this preseason game and potentially prove to the coaching staff and front office that he should be on this 53-man roster when it's cut down from 90 to 53 in late August. We'll also get to see a lot of John Saunders Jr., who's not on this list, but a player I am excited to watch as well. Make the call for me. Will Patrick McMorris seize the opportunity and make this Dolphins 53-man roster? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Number 4 on my list is the other quarterback on this roster. I am more excited to see the rookie Quinn Ewers, but I am also very excited to see the veteran backup that Miami signed to a one-year deal in NFL free agency, the former second overall pick out of BYU, Zach Wilson, because he has had a lot of good moments in camp. He's also had a lot of bad moments, just like Quinn Ewers. But I feel like Ewers has somehow, and this is not his MO, been a little bit more consistent than Zach Wilson. And if Quinn Ewers outperforms Wilson in the preseason, whether it's just this first game against the Bears or the entire 3 preseason games against the Bears, Lions, and Jaguars, there is a chance, I still put it low because of Wilson's contract, but there is a chance Quinn Ewers could ultimately become the QB2 for this Dolphins football team to Tagovailoa. Would I put it as a guarantee or likelihood? No, I still lean Zach Wilson, but I am certainly intrigued by seeing how Ewers performs and Zach Wilson performs. That's why they're both in my top 5. The 5th player, rookie running back Ollie Gordon II. I know I contemplate putting Jalen Wright here because he's had a little bit of a up and down camp to where he might be RB3 rather than RB2, and Alexander Madison might be that guy. But I expect to see a ton of Ollie Gordon this game. Miami really doesn't have any other running back on this roster outside of those 4. They released Nate Noel, the UDFA running back they signed right after the draft in a roster move they made a couple weeks ago. So the running back position is pretty thin, which means I anticipate seeing a decent amount of Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, specifically Ollie Gordon. So I can't wait to watch him run, man. And I think him and Quinn Ewers will be a fun duo to watch. If you are a college football person, you want to talk about an all-time like Madden Ultimate Team moment to have these two together. Like Quinn Ewers, one of the best college quarterbacks over the past couple of years, and Ollie Gordon, who is the best running back in college football statistically in the 2023 season where he was the Dokes Award winner. Like, that's just a fun duo to watch. I can't wait to see those two work together in the backfield on the offensive end for Miami. That's why Ollie Gordon makes my top 5. And also, he's going to make this roster, but can he carve out a role for himself in the regular season by putting in good work now? Maybe. Represent the Dolphins every single day. The easy way to do it is grabbing this awesome, sweet gray shirt on sale. I love the little design here. It's so simple. The Miami Dolphins and that little curved with the logo in between. I love the font on this shirt as well. And good news for you as well. $15 off when you go to chatsports.com/MIA shirt sale. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Grab yours now before the sale is no more. Kicking off the back half of this video, number 6 on my Dolphins to watch is UDFA wide receiver out of Missouri, Theo Weiss Jr. It's the UDFA that has been the best out of this group. Remember, Miami signed 4 of these guys after the draft. Theo Weiss Jr. out of Missouri, Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas, Monterey Baldwin from Baylor, and A.J. Henning from Northwestern. I always hyped up Andrew Armstrong coming from Arkansas because he's 6'4", ran a 4.5, 240, led the SEC in receiving yards a year ago. But Theo Weiss Jr. has consistently outplayed him in minicamp, in OTAs, and now in training camp. So with him being one of the top targets in this second group of wide receivers, I can't wait to watch him work with Zach Wilson. He'll work with Quinn Ewers as well. Like, I don't imagine that we see a lot of Waddle or Hill at all in this preseason, and why should you? So if you told me that the starting wide receivers for the Dolphins on Sunday was like a Nick Westbrook-Akini, Theo Weiss Jr., and Malik Washington, I would believe you. I'm excited to see the UDFA wide receiver out of Mizzou. We'll stick an offense with tight end Tanner Conner comes in at number 7. A player that has been in the Miami Dolphins system for a pretty long time, but with Darren Waller still on the PUP list, at least as of filming this. This is on our Tuesday live show. I think Tanner Conner's the best receiving tight end you have. Like, you think about the group you got. Jalen Conyers, IR, done. Chris Myrick is nothing. Hayden Rucci's a blocking guy. Pharaoh Brown's a nice duo of inline blocking receiver. And then we know Julian Hill can't catch a cold. You talk pure route running and hands, Tanner Conner's the best one that you have active in this game. Is he going to be able to prove that he is clearly the best receiving tight end that you have amongst those 5 players I just mentioned? Well, if he can actually go a long way to guaranteeing him a roster spot and maybe having a role in this Dolphins offense. Like, if you told me the Dolphins kept 3 tight ends and it was Darren Waller, Conner, and Pharaoh Brown, I'd be not that surprised, and I would actually probably rather have that because I want Julian Hill off this football team. Number 8, Jason Marshall Jr., the 5th round pick out of Florida, the rookie cornerback. He's a player that a lot of Dolphins fans really, really liked when he got drafted. I was hesitant. My guy Ruski, I hope you're watching this, was on my ass about not liking the pick of Jason Marshall Jr. because I preferred Dorian Strong, the Virginia Tech corner, who ultimately got drafted by the Buffalo Bills. But with Jason Marshall Jr., he's gotten a lot of playing time in training camp due to injuries to Artie Burns and some others like Kader Kohu. I expect him to get a ton of playing time in this game as well. Like, if you're talking about the corners that you should see a lot of this Sunday, I think you should see a ton of Jason Marshall Jr. You should see a lot of Kendall Sheffield. You should see these guys that are young, trying to fight for a roster spot. B.J. Adams is banged up. I know there's a lot of injuries. Cornell Armstrong, we'll see a ton of him. But, I mean, I got to be honest. Like, Jason Marshall Jr. needs all of the repetition he can get. So if he started this game at corner and played all 4 quarters, it would not surprise me whatsoever. A couple more players to get to here, but let me know, what player are you most excited to watch in this first preseason game between Miami and Chicago? I gave you my top 10 in order. Let me know your number 1 in the comments. We'll review the last 2 together because they play the same position. Mohamed Kamara and Grayson Murphy. Kamara, the 5th round pick from Colorado State in 2024. Grayson Murphy, the UDFA out of UCLA in 2024. Both of them fighting for roster spots. I would lump these 2 in with Quentin Bell. Bell, obviously a little bit more established. He played a lot more for Miami last season, but his roster spot is not guaranteed. And I am curious to see how many people Miami ultimately keeps at the edge position. We know they're keeping Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, and Jaelan Phillips. Are they keeping 5? Well, if they keep 5, which one of these 3 gets cut? Grayson Murphy had a really good preseason game against the Falcons last year before getting put on IR for the year. Mohamed Kamara was with the team all last season, but was a healthy scratch and inactive almost every game. So these 2 guys are going to be playing early. They're going to have to showcase why they deserve to have a role on this football team. And I can't wait to see the 3 of them compete. I think those 3 are going to play a lot in this first preseason game. I can't imagine Jalen, Chop, or Chubb playing really at all. We'll see what Mike McDaniel does. But I don't see any of those guys playing, so we're going to see a lot of those 3 players that I just mentioned. And that will do it for today's show. But as I mentioned off the top of this episode, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you join us tomorrow because we will be live on the channel, noon Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central Time. I'm Nic Rohloff. I'll be joined by producer Jeffrey Cooperstein. Shout out to Coop. Can't wait to have him with us for this watch party tomorrow. But if you see this thumbnail, it means we're live. So click it and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun for the first Dolphins football game in 2025. All right, that does it for the 3 segments on today's live show. What player are you most excited to watch, folks? I said mine was Quinn Ewers. What is yours? K. Todd saying Jack Jones. Jack Jones from K. Todd. I'm excited about Jack. Can't lie. Can't lie. Whew. DeQuincy says chop. I'm not sure if he'll play, but not sure if he'll play. Looks like Jimbo's going to be the top fan on today's live show. We will stay live for a minute. If any super chats come in, it will prolong our live. If not, we'll sign off, get out of here, have videos out on the channel every day from now until Sunday, and then we'll be live on Sunday afternoon like we have teased throughout today's live show. So about 40 more seconds here. If no super chats come in, Jimbo's the top fan today. Shout out to my guy Jimbo. And then we'll see you again live on Sunday morning, my time, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. for us, noon for you guys if you're on the East Coast. I will say I'm not a big Central Time Zone guy. I prefer my East Coast. That's where I'm from. Lopez shaking his head no. I do prefer Central Time for the National Football League.
Central Time is so much better. East Coast, it's so weird 1 o'clock kickoffs.
But that's what I'm used to, though.
But 12 o'clock, it's like
12 o'clock
middle
is
of the
perfect
day,
for the NFL.
First game, let's go.
No, I agree. 12 o'clock is perfect for the first game. Central Time is awesome for the National Football League. I more or less love the Eastern Time Zone for college football because
you have the 12 o'clock.
Because in college football on the East Coast, that is new.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. 11 a.m., sometimes it's like, well, what if I went out on Friday night and I'm waking up at 9:30, 10:15, gather my bearings, and now I'm already too late to get to the bar to have a good spot for the 11 a.m. kickoff. Don't like that. Plus, games end earlier in college football. I love games ending at 11:30 midnight when I'm not working. And same thing with basketball. I love my midnight hoops and college basketball in the NBA.
End, like the 9:30 games here end at 12.
I like 1 a.m.
No, that's horrible.
Dude, imagine going out to the bar on a Friday night in March and the ESPN NBA game is an electric one. And you're just at the bar at 1 o'clock and it's a close game coming out of the wire, Nuggets-Lakers. That's electric.
Now, what about when they're playing on Wednesday?
Well, I cover an East Coast team, so it doesn't really matter to me. All right, no super chats in, so that will be the end of our live show. Appreciate everybody who joined us for this live edition of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Like I said, we'll have videos going out every single day from now until Sunday, where we will be live for Dolphins-Bears preseason week 1. We'll actually put out a video here in about 20 minutes, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you give that a little click, like, comment, subscribe. Why not? Peace out for Nick Lopez. Appreciate him as always. Nic Rohloff, go Fins.